Hey, Shalom, Akim Shalom. Before I begin this lesson, I want to start off by giving all glory, honor, and praises unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachakwadash. And double honor to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that taught us this truth. A sincere Shalom to the hopeful like this out there, listening, learning, and or teaching in truth and sincerity. Shalom. Akim, so today I want to go into the Passover. Passover is a very deadly, serious time, man. It's a high holy day. All right. And this year, it comes in on April the 1st at sundown. Okay. That's when it comes in. All right. And, during this time is a very serious time, man, because you can see in the depiction above, on the upper portion of it, you see the doorposts covered in blood, man, which, it's going to get into it once we go into Exodus chapter 12, man. But, it's a very important high holy day, and it is to be revered. Okay. We're supposed to respect the Lord, of course, at all times, but especially during the Passover. It's not, it's nothing to play around with. So I'm going to just go ahead and get started in the book of Exodus chapter 12 and verse 1. It says, "And Yahweh spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you." All right, so this is when the real new year comes in, is around this time. Okay, during the Passover on the first month. Okay. Or on the first month which the Passover is in. Okay, verse 3, "Speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, In the 10th day of this month they shall take to them every man a lamb, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for an house." Okay, "And if the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto his house take it according to the number of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall make your count for the lamb." All right. And verse 5, it says, "Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. Ye shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats." Right. So you can either have a lamb, and sometimes it's acceptable to have a goat. Like if you can't find a lamb, right? But anyway, the point is, now we rehearsing out the righteous acts. So this is a solemn assembly, as you know, and we would get together and have this Passover with a lamb. But nowadays we can only go to the store and buy lamb that's already been butchered. They've however it's been raised, however it's been treated, whatever. Okay, so we're rehearsing the righteous acts. We're doing the best we can to adhere to these ancient customs, which is part of our heritage. This is in the law. We're supposed to keep the Passover. All right, but even though we're in Babylon under captivity, we do the best we can to represent that assembly as it was in the ancient world, giving it its full reverence and rehearsing it as accurately as possible, for the Lord. Verse 6, it says, "And ye shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month, and the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. And they shall take of the blood and strike it on the two side posts and on the upper door posts of the houses wherein they shall eat it. And they shall eat the flesh in the night roast with fire and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it." Right, so it's not supposed to be like a meal, like a dinner, right? Where you season it up and make it taste good. No, this is symbolic. This is you get the lamb, right, and you eat it with bitter herbs, man, which the bitter herbs represents the misery that we had to go through in Egypt. Okay, and in today's time, we can also liken that unto the misery we have to suffer here in Babylon. Okay, all the captivity, the grievousness we got to go through. Okay. Let's see. And they shall eat it, back in verse 8, and they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire, and unleavened bread. Unleavened bread, right? Because you're supposed to eat bread without yeast. Okay, our people were in a hurry. The Lord told them, basically, how to do it, and we didn't have the opportunity to use yeast. Okay, so we had to make the breads flat, right? So today we represent that by using corn tortillas. Okay, and using the corn tortillas, there's no leaven. They're very flat, right? And you could just think back to the New Testament. What does Yahushua say? Eat this bread, it represents me. Drink this wine, so on and so forth. Let's get that real quick. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Luke 22. All right, Luke 22 and 19, it says, and he took bread and gave thanks and brake it and gave unto them, saying, this is my body which is given for you. This do in remembrance of me. Verse 20, likewise also the cup after supper, saying, this cup is the New Testament in my blood, which is shed for you. You see, so, that lamb was Yahushua. That's what the lamb represents, that lamb dinner, that we ate during the time of Egypt and still to this day, right? And then the bread represents his body, right? Given for us, right? He went through that severe torture, man, which we were talking about that yesterday, how, Yahushua suffered the worst death possible, man. All right, you can look up how excruciating death by crucifixion is, man. It was used for the worst of the worst people. All right, but Yahushua was innocent, man. He never committed any wrong, man. All right, and then to have all these people, all these crowds screaming for him to be killed. All right, remember when we read about it, he was praying and he was sweating blood. And if you look it up, sweating blood happens. Let's get it. Why cause of sweating blood? See if I can find it real quick. Here. Yep. AI overview. Sweating blood, hematidrosis, during extreme fear is caused by the rupture of tiny capillary blood vessels surrounding sweat glands, driven by intense sympathetic nervous system activation. Under acute stress, panic, or terror, these capillaries constrict and then rupture, releasing blood into the sweat ducts, which then travels to the skin's surface. You see, so Yahushua went through hell, man, to, get the victory, man. So, and under him and through him, all right, we're going to get the victory, man. All right, Yahushua beat the game, and through him, we're able to get that new covenant, man, which it references to. It makes reference to it in verse 20. Let's read it again. Verse 20. Likewise also the cup after supper, saying, this cup is the New Testament in my blood, which is shed for you. Right? So, and we know what that New Testament entails, man. Us getting those new bodies. The Lord putting us at the top instead of us being slaves down here at the bottom, suffering under the hands of Esau and the heathen. Okay, we're going to be ruling the earth. The law is going to be written in our inward parts, so we'll never sin again, so we'll never lose our blessing, man. We're not going to, we had the blessing and the curse. We went through the blessing, we went through the curse. Now the Lord is going to set us up under that perpetual blessing, man. Okay, and that's all because of Yahushua, man. So Yahushua deserves only the most highest respect and esteem, man, and worship. Okay, Yahushua is to be worshipped, right? Kiss the Son lest he be angry, like the scriptures say. So, with that being said, we're going to go back to Exodus 12. And let's see, where was I? Salaki, give me 1 second. Verse 7. It says, and they shall take of the blood and strike it on the two side posts and on the upper doorposts of the house wherein they shall eat it. And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. Eat not of it raw, nor sodden at all with water, but roast with fire, his head with his legs, and with the purtenance thereof. Right? So we try to simulate this the best we can, right? A lot of us don't have the ability to roast a whole lamb with fire, so we'll use the oven. Okay, verse 10, and ye shall let nothing of it remain until the morning, and that which remaineth of it until the morning ye shall burn with fire. Right? So don't let anything remain till the morning, Akim. Just make enough for that meal, and if there's anything left over, do as it says here, get rid of it. Okay, verse 11, and thus shall ye eat it, with your loins girded, and your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand, and ye shall eat it in haste. It is Yahweh's Passover. Right? So, yeah, man, again, you get rid of any extra lamb, okay, throw it away, but then while you're eating this Passover, you want to have your shoes on, your belt on, right? It says your loins girded and your shoes on your feet and your staff in your hand. And you shall eat it in haste. It is Yahweh's Passover, right? So we're simulating the urgency that the ancient Israelites, our people, were under, because they knew that, the Lord was going to pass over and they were going to get kicked out of Egypt. So they had to be ready to go, go, go. All right. So we're not sitting down with utensils, and candles lit and music going and eating this bullshit and getting drunk. No, man, this is a meal you eat. You're in a hurry. All right, think about like you're late for work and you got your breakfast and you're swallowing that shit on the way out the door. Okay, that's the mindset you want to be in with this Passover, man. Right? We're rehearsing as if we're getting ready to leave Babylon, just like we were ready to leave Egypt. Right? It's a rehearsal. Let's see. And give me 1 second. I want to mention about the blood posts. I forgot to mention this earlier. We don't put blood on posts physically, but spiritually, we do. By being in the right mindset. This is a solemn assembly. Okay, it's deadly serious, because if you wanted to be protected in Egypt, you had to put that blood on the doorposts, all right, letting the death angel know to pass over you, right? So we do it the same way by revering Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai in this Passover, taking it very deadly serious, man, very deadly serious. And if there's a scripture that talks about if you don't take the Passover serious, you're condemning yourself. All right, let's see if I can pull it up real quick. Give me 1 second. Yeah, it says if you eat unworthily, right? Let's see here. 1 Corinthians 11, verse 27. It says, wherefore whosoever shall eat this bread and drink this cup of the Lord unworthily shall be guilty of the body and blood of the Lord. You see? So, hey, don't do the Passover if you're not serious, man. If you're not serious about this thing, okay, if you're not gonna take it serious, or if you're doing it for ulterior motives, you're not sincere, right? Like you could think about certain Israelite groups. They went and held the Passover at a strip club. That's bullshit. You don't do that, man. All right. We know it's a Sabbath. Having naked hoes out there dancing and, you know, drinking, getting drunk and bullshitting, and worldly people are probably going to be at the strip club, so on and so forth. That's all going off. Okay, so, you know, you got to examine yourself. That's where verse 28 comes in. It says, but let a man examine himself, and so let him eat of that bread and drink of that cup. For he that eateth and drinketh unworthily eateth and drinketh damnation to himself, not discerning the Lord's body. That's right. All right, we just went into how the hell that Yahushua had to go through to, you know, have us reconciled back to the Heavenly Father. Okay, and, you know, if you look at the misery we have to go through in Babylon, being under the curses, you will be grateful that Yahushua did that, man. Just like if you read Exodus 20 and verse 1. Let me get Exodus 20 real quick. Exodus 20 and verse 1. And the Most High spake all these words, saying, I am Yahweh thy power, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other powers before me. Right? So before the Lord even goes into the Ten Commandments, he reminds our people that he is Yahweh, the one who brought us out of the land of Egypt. Okay, so be grateful, in other words, man. Be grateful that Yahushua is coming back to save us from this damn hell we got to go through, man. Unless you fucking like it here. You know, and if you like it here, fuck you, man. Straight up. You're an enemy of the Lord, man. The righteous, you know, those who are of the elect are going to be in a house of mourning. If you're not of the elect, then you're wicked, man. You belong to this world, and you're going to be destroyed with this world. So if you belong to this world and you're just in this thing to be a groupie or whatever the hell reason you got, maybe you want to be a part of something, skip the Passover, man. Do yourself a favor and skip it. Okay? You know, or if you're very new and you don't really know what you're doing, you might want to skip it until next year, until you know, because you want to make sure you know what you're doing when you do it. Okay? You know, you don't want to fuck up any part of it. You know, do it to the best of your ability. The Lord is merciful, but at the same time, you know, don't be insincere. You know, be real. Okay? The Lord, he sees what you're thinking, your thoughts. And if you drink unworthily or eat unworthily, man, you're going to get fucked up. So, yeah. All right. So back in Exodus, let's see. Back in Exodus chapter 12. Let's see. Salakia, give me just 1 second. We're just going to start at verse 11 again. It says, and thus shall ye eat it, with your loins girded and your shoes on your feet and your staff in your hand, and ye shall eat it in haste. It is Yahweh's Passover. For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am Yahweh. So the Lord came and put all the firstborn to death, even Egypt's Pharaoh's son. All right, and even the firstborn of cattle. Man, the Lord was not playing around. All right, it was deadly serious then, and it's deadly serious now. Okay. So we're gonna keep going from there. Gone. Give me 1 second, Salakia. Yeah, verse 13. And the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses where you are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Egypt. Right? So the Lord was letting them know, hey, you know, put the blood on your posts so I know not to destroy you. You see? So the Lord is very particular, man. I've been reading the first, you know, the books of the law recently, man. I was just reading in the book of Numbers earlier. And the Lord is very particular, very meticulous, very specific with how he wants things to be done. Okay, so you got to come into this Passover knowing that you got to respect that. Okay, now of course we say we rehearse the righteous acts because we don't have access to an unblemished lamb. You know, that's physically impossible for us being in captivity, but we do the best we can in that. Okay, but you do have the option to get unleavened bread, You know, you do have the option to buy lamb. So, you know, if you're bullshitting and you buy beef, or, you know, you buy you know, bread that does have yeast in it, you know, you don't want to do that. Okay? So, you know, the Lord is very particular how he wants things done. All right? So just want to make that point. Okay? So, verse 14, it says, "And this day shall be unto you for a memorial, and you shall keep it a feast to Yahweh throughout your generations. Ye shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever." That's right, forever. So we're supposed to we're still supposed to be keeping the Passover to this day. All right, the so-called Christian church is nothing more than you know, a watered down doctrine. You know, they say they believe in the Bible, but they really don't know anything about the Bible. Here we were earlier reading 1 Corinthians 11, verse 27 through 29, going into how you got to eat the Passover the right way, you know, being sincere, right? You know, showing you that the Passover was still being kept after Yahushua, you know, went back to the Father. Okay? So this was never done away with. None of these high holy days were ever done away with, man. We're supposed to keep all these high holy days. This is part of the law. Okay? Holy day, okay, that's where they get the word holiday. So that's why we tell you, Akim and Akwath, don't celebrate these holidays, which are really holy days of the world, right? Christmas, Easter, Thanksgiving, right? These are holy days for these satanic idols that the elite worship and they want you to worship. Right? It goes back to all these ancient Babylonian gods, or not ancient, but Neo-Babylonian gods. Okay? You know, the Canaanite deities. It goes back to that. Okay? You know, that's why we often bring out those E.P. Stein files, right? The Epstein files, all right? So if you're in agreement with these fucking holy days, or Salakia holidays of the world, you're an enemy of the Lord, man. So you have to repent from that and don't celebrate any holidays. Don't celebrate your birthday. That goes back to idol worship. Okay, these are the holy days you're supposed to be celebrating. The Passover, the Feast of Tabernacles, you know, the Feast of Weeks, all these different feasts in the scriptures. Those are the holy days, man. All right, because there's something spiritual and powerful about these holy days, man. Okay, and so that's very important to keep in mind as well. All right, verse 15, 7 days shall ye eat unleavened bread. Right, so during this time, from April 1st at sundown, right, for the next 7 days, you're going to be eating flat bread. Okay, make sure you don't buy bread that just says flat bread. You got to read the ingredients. Esau will slip yeast into there. Okay, so you got to make sure. You want to be safe, buy the corn tortillas. Hell, you could even just buy flour. Make sure you read the flour and it don't have leavening in it. Just buy flour that just says ingredients, flour. That's it. Nothing else. You know? And then just throw that in the pan with some water, and you got a flat bread like that. You could do it homemade, all right? But to be safe, for those of you that are new, just go with the corn tortillas. You can't go wrong with that. Corn tortillas don't have leavening in them, all right? And you're going to be eating them corn tortillas for 7 days, okay? Starting on the Passover, you're going to have that lamb, right? So once y'all finish eating and everything, don't let any of that lamb be there till the morning. You're going to, like it says, in the morning, you get rid of it. Let me go back, make sure we're reading it carefully. Here we go, verse 10. And ye shall let nothing of it remain until the morning, and that which remaineth of it until the morning ye shall burn with fire. Right, so get rid of that. Get rid of that lamb if there's any left over, man. Don't wait, okay? And so, you know, you basically just make enough for everybody to eat. Don't make too much extra. You know, don't make any extra, all right? So with that, we're going to go ahead and get back to verse 15. 7 days ye shall eat unleavened bread. Even the first day ye shall put away leaven out of your house. Right. Start now, man. Start getting rid of any yeast in your house. If you got yeast, people like to make bread. They buy those yeast packets at the store. Clearly, you want to get rid of those, right? Any baking soda, anything that has leavening in it, get it out of your house. Read the ingredients on your condiments. You might have condiments in your refrigerator that have leavening in it. Get rid of it. All right. You might have cookies in the house and cakes and shit like that. Get rid of all that bullshit. All right. Before the Passover. All right. So this is part of that, taking it very serious, man. All right, this is part of the steps. So you can't ignore it and be like, my house is too messy. Well, you better figure something out or just don't do it that year. But really, you should want to do it. So you should get a trash bag and go around your house and get rid of everything you can that has yeast in it or leavening in it. All right. It says, for whosoever eateth leavened bread from the first day until the seventh day, that soul shall be cut off from Israel. Right. You don't want to be cut off from Israel. Right. That's not good. Right. So obey the Lord, man. There was, like I said earlier, like I was reading earlier, you don't want to eat unworthily and be damned. Okay. Let's see here. We're going to keep it going. It says, and in the first day there shall be a holy convocation, and in the seventh day there shall be a holy convocation. To you no manner of work shall be done in them, save that which every man must eat, that only may be done of you. Right? Setting up the plates, getting the food, eating the food, right? You shouldn't be working on this day. You should take the day off. All right. It says, and ye shall observe the feast of unleavened bread, for in the selfsame day have I brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. Therefore shall ye observe this day in your generations by an ordinance forever. That's right, man, because, this was a great deliverance when the Lord brought us out of Egypt the way he did. Okay. And, we're in the same spirit now, praying that the Lord passes over us, okay, during this Passover, and brings a lot of judgment and speeds this thing up so we could get out of here, Lord's willing, by the end of this year or early next year, man. That's the spirit to be in. We hope and pray this thing speeds up, because it very well can happen that way. It very well can happen that way, okay? But like the scriptures also says in the New Testament, it says hastening the day. That's the spirit we're in, man. And back then when we were in Egypt, our people were in the same spirit. They wanted to leave Egypt. They wanted to escape. Okay, so they were in that spirit, and we're in that spirit now. Hoping and praying the Lord comes soon. Okay, because he is coming, but we hope it's sooner rather than later, right? We'll continue on, verse 18. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month at evening, ye shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month at even. 7 days shall there be no leaven found in your house. Right. So, during this Passover, the first day, you have your Passover. That doesn't mean, okay, we already finished, so the next day I'm going to go out and buy a pizza or a cake. No. You got 7 days of flat bread, of unleavened bread. Okay, so don't be eating no yeast during that time. Don't bring no yeast into your house during that time. Okay. For whosoever eateth that which is leavened, even that soul shall be cut off from the congregation of Israel, whether he be a stranger or born in the land. Ye shall eat nothing leavened. In all your habitations shall ye eat unleavened bread. Then Moses called for all the elders of Israel and said unto them, draw out and take you a lamb according to your families, and kill the Passover. And ye shall take a bunch of hyssop and dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and strike the lintel and the 2 side posts of the blood that is in the basin. And none of you shall go out at the door of his house until the morning. For Yahweh will pass through to smite the Egyptians. Right? To smite means to kill. And when he seeth the blood upon the lintel and on the two side posts, Yahweh will pass over the door and will not suffer the destroyer to come in unto your house to smite you. And ye shall observe this thing for an ordinance to thee and to thy sons forever. And it shall come to pass, when ye be come to the land which Yahweh will give you, according as he has promised, that ye shall keep his service, that ye shall keep this service. And it shall come to pass, when your children shall say unto you, What meaneth you by this service? That ye shall say, It is the sacrifice of Yahweh's Passover, who passed over the house of the children of Israel in Egypt, when he smote the Egyptians and delivered our houses, and the people bowed the head and worshiped. Right? So, when we got to that land of Israel, we're telling our children that story about, how the Lord came and saved us out of the land of Egypt. This, like I said, this was a great deliverance. It's written in the records. The elite international bankers, they have record of this. Okay, and all these different countries roundabout during that time had record of this, and they had great fear of our people and of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, man, because they saw that great deliverance, and they know that the Lord is with us. Okay, and so this is also going to happen today in this modern time, man. The Lord is going to come and save us out of America, Babylon, in a very dramatic way, man. Okay, in a very dramatic way. And I want to grab a precept. Okay. All right. This is Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5 and verse 2. It says, When they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear, and shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation, so far beyond all that they looked for. Right? So when they see the so-called UFOs, which are the chariots of the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, when they see them covering the skies, okay, and beaming up the elect of Yasharallah up into the chariots, okay, that's how we're going to be saved out of this second Egypt, man. Okay, and then that's where those thermonuclear missiles are going to hit America and wipe it off the face of the earth forever, man. All right, there's going to be great fire here in America, man, covering from sea to shining sea. The land of Israel and America are going to be destroyed, man. And a lot of other places are going to get hit. We're going to be in this time that we're in now, this time of Jacob's trouble, and it's going to go to another level. There's going to be a lot of mass death, starvation, all right? People fighting each other over resources. And then at the end, when they mandate the MOTB for buying and selling, okay, right after that, shortly thereafter, that's where that salvation comes in, man. And so the Lord's going to be passing over, just like in Egypt, man, and saving us, and it's going to be a great salvation, man. It's going to overshadow the salvation from Egypt, man. And I want to grab a precept to that. All right, this is Jeremiah 16:14. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that it shall no more be said, Yahweh liveth, that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. But Yahweh liveth, that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north. Right? The land of the north is America. And from all the lands whither he had driven them, and I will bring them again into their land that I gave unto their fathers. Right? Because you could see all around the world, you got Israelites everywhere, man. Okay? How many countries you go to, you see so-called Negroes, right? Over there in Asia, over there in Europe, over there in all these different lands here in America, right? The Israelites today are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians, right? And our people are scattered throughout the world, man. Scattered, right? A lot of us are here in America, though. And this is the main place where salvation is going to happen, here in America. This is the main place that our people are in, okay? And so the Lord is gonna save us out of here, man. Okay, and also in taking down America, okay, that destroys the Edomite power structure of this world. So it really saves all of us worldwide, because all of us worldwide are under the oppression of America, man. Because America has their hands in all these countries, man. Okay, and so really the Lord is saving us out of America and all of these lands where we have been scattered, right? Because again, the scripture says we will be scattered, showing you that those people over there in the land of Israel today, they have simply stolen the land, which also is prophecy. The scripture says that Gentiles would trod in our land until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. And when the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled, that's the end. So we're coming to the end, man. Okay, and so this Passover is so spiritual, man. When you go through this ceremony, you know, and we hope and pray and believe that the Lord is going to continue to escalate this war, escalate, this plans of the elite so they can hurry the fuck up and mandate the chip. All right, because prophecy has to be fulfilled, man. A lot of you people don't realize out there, we're not against the chip and all this stuff. We want that shit to happen, because when it happens, we know what's next. What's next is Yahushua. Yahushua is next. Yahushua is coming to set up his kingdom here on the earth. Okay? And we're going to be joint heirs with Yahushua, man. Lord's will, be the elect. We're going to be joint heirs, man. We're going to rule. Okay? And our people, you got to get out of that Stockholm syndrome, man. We were created to rule the earth. We're the only people that are fit to rule. These Edomites, these so-called white people, these other heathens out here, they're not fit. They don't know how to rule. They're destroying the earth. Okay, and so you've got to understand where we're coming from with this truth, man. For those of you that are just now seeing this channel, okay, this is not about skin color. This is not about being angry that we were slaves. It's so much deeper than that, man. Okay, but anyway, digress. Let's see, where was I? I'm gonna get back into Exodus chapter 12 and verse 28. It says, "And the children of Israel went away and did as Yahweh had commanded Moses and Aaron, so did they. And it came to pass that at midnight Yahweh smote all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sat on his throne unto the firstborn of the captive that was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of cattle." You see, so the Lord killed every firstborn in Egypt on that day. It says, "And Pharaoh rose up in the night, he and all his servants and all the Egyptians, and there was a great cry in Egypt, and there was not a house where there was not one dead. And he called for Moses and Aaron by night and said, Rise up and get you forth from amongst my people, both you and the children of Israel, and go serve Yahweh as ye have said. And also take your flocks and your herds as ye have said, and be gone, and bless me also." You see, so they say, he said, all right, you can go. You remember all the different plagues the Lord had to bring, and he said, all right, I'll let you go, and then he changed his mind. All right, I'll let you go, and he changed his mind. Well, this time he said, you leave, take your animals, take everything, and leave, please. Yeah, man, because the Lord broke his spirit, man. The Lord broke him. Okay? And it says, and the Egyptians were, and he also said, be gone and bless me also, right? You see that? And the Egyptians were urgent upon the people that they might send them out of the land in haste, for they said, we be all dead men. See, they feared. And the people took their dough before it was leaving, their kneading troughs being bound up in their clothes upon their shoulders, and the children of Israel did according to the word of Moses. And they borrowed of the Egyptians jewels of silver and jewels of gold and raiment, and Yahweh gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they lent unto them such things as they required, and they spoiled the Egyptians. Right, so they basically took all that gold and silver that the Egyptians had let them use, and basically, yeah, man, we basically overthrew our oppressors through Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. And it's going to be the same way here in America, man. But it's all going to be the Lord Yahushai is going to get all that glory, man. Yahweh Bashim Al Shai, those names will be magnified worldwide, man. Okay, worldwide. Okay, just like during this time, during the salvation of Egypt, the world heard about how the Lord had rescued us out of this great empire, man. Egypt was a powerful empire at the time. Okay? It says, and the children of Israel journeyed from Ramesses to Succoth, about 600,000 on foot, that were men beside children, and a mixed multitude went up also with them, and flocks and herds, even very much cattle, and they baked unleavened cakes of dough, which they brought forth out of Egypt, for it was not leavened, because they were thrust out of Egypt, and could not tarry, neither had they prepared for themselves any victuals. Now the sojourning of the children of Israel who dwelt in Egypt was 430 years. And it came to pass at the end of the 430 years, even the selfsame day, it came to pass that all the host of Yahweh went out from the land of Egypt. It is a night to be much observed unto Yahweh. Right? It's much to be observed, man. It says, for bringing them out from the land of Egypt, this is that night of Yahweh to be observed of all the children of Israel in their generations. And Yahweh said unto Moses and Aaron, this is the ordinance of the Passover. There shall no stranger eat thereof. But every man's servant that is bought for money, when thou hast circumcised him, then shall he eat thereof. A foreigner and a hired servant shall not eat thereof. In one house shall it be eaten. Thou shalt not carry forth aught of the flesh abroad out of the house, neither shall ye break a bone thereof. Right? You know, which again, we don't have the ability to buy lambs that haven't had broken bones. So we just do the best we can. You know, we might buy a lamb leg, or, you know, regular lamb, whatever. Okay, and of course, yeah, you can't bring that lamb right, so you can't save them leftovers and go travel to another house. No, you eat it there. Okay? It says, all the congregation of Israel shall keep it, and when a stranger shall sojourn with thee, and will keep the Passover to Yahweh, let all his males be circumcised, and then let him come near and keep it. And he shall be as one that is born in the land, for no uncircumcised person shall eat thereof. One law shall be to him that is homeborn, and unto the stranger that sojourneth among you. Thus did all the children of Israel, as Yahweh commanded Moses and Aaron, so did they. And it came to pass the selfsame day that Yahweh did bring the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt by their armies. All right, Akim. So yeah, man, you know, just basically enjoy this Passover. It's going to be a very beautiful spiritual day, Lord's will. Okay. And but just remember, man, it's a solemn assembly. It is deadly serious. Okay. You know, it's not to be laughing and cracking jokes and no, it's serious. Okay. It's like, you know, just think about that scene. Okay. They were under heavy captivity. The Lord's about to go kill all the firstborn in that land. That's no joke, man. And the Pharaoh knew that was coming from Yahweh, because he didn't want to let our people go. You know, Moses had already warned him this is what's going to happen. So, you know, it's going to be a hectic scene, and you got to get the fuck up out of there quick, man. You're not sitting there getting drunk, cracking jokes, getting lap dances, you know, laughing all googly eye. Ha ha. No, it ain't nothing funny about this day, man. All right. And if you can't take it serious, then don't do it, or else a bad thing will happen to you, because it says you eat unworthily, condemnation is going to come to you. So I can't stress that enough. Okay, but yeah, Akim, we're almost out of here. We see what's going on in prophecy. Yahweh Ba'ashim Shai is shaking up this world. You know, he's bringing Babylon down economically. You know, the staff of the wicked is broken, man. These devils, they have all this weaponry, and they're getting defeated by, you know, 2-stroke motorcycle engine drones. Basic shit, okay? And then on top of that, you got Russia and China with way better equipment. They're not even doing anything. They're just watching, looking at America, studying their weaknesses. Okay, this place is going to get invaded soon, man. This thing is finished. And then once that chip is mandated, all right, there's nothing stopping that thermonuclear destruction, which is coming. And it's coming, man. And we just hope and pray that the Lord continues to speed this thing up so we can get the hell up out of here. All right. So with that, I want to finish by giving our glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachakodash. Double honor to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who taught us this truth. A sincere shalom to the hopeful electors out there listening, learning, and or teaching in truth and sincerity. Shalom wa, abba, shalom.